want to start earlier, something happens which prevents me from accomplishing my goal. Like, for example, now I was just about to start and then the phone rings. It's one of those people that just doesn't know when you're trying to hang up. Do you guys have those people? Like, they start talking on the phone and you don't want to be rude, but you really want to hang
Muhammad
up.
sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to boast about them. جاءكم أهل اليمن. The people of Yemen has come. They're soft-hearted. They have the wisdom.
Until I find the browser again. There we go. Not my day. Not my day. I'm telling you this. Okay. Everything is working at least. Yeah. Another issue that can happen. You have 25 browsers open and then there's sound coming from one of them. And you don't know which. Horrible. You have to hunt it. You're hunting for the sound. And then, I'm not even going to acknowledge the troll in the chat. I should be the only troll. But there is another troll with a red cup. I despise that troll. Yeah, so like someone calls you and they're like really nice. You don't want to be mean, but like you have things to do and they just don't get the fucking hint. And usually it's like, yeah, okay, I'll leave you alone. But, and then they go, la, and you're like, God damn it. It's been a long time since you saw a live stream. Well, Angel Lugo, I guess I can now stream at more earlier hours than before, so. Oh, and another thing that really pisses me off, right? Someone phones you. Let's say they phone you at 4 p.m. And then you're about to live stream. And you're like, okay, I just want to finish talking with them, so let's see what they want. And you call them, and they hang up on you. And then they call you live when you start live streaming. Oh, God. Guedes, welcome. Welcome, as H698. Let me put the cat into the horny jail, because it's meowing again. It knows that I'm live streaming. Where are you? Where are you? Perfect. You're in the bathroom. Stay in the fucking bathroom. Goddamn cat. If I'm recording a video, cat is fine. If I'm live streaming, cat starts meowing at the door. Every time. It knows. How have you guys been doing? How was your day? Because you don't want me to get into my day. It's not good. But this is a stream where I'm trying to cheer you up, so I shouldn't talk about gloomy things. Yes, Mr. Wall is here. I know the joke. There are 4 walls here. Hopefully this is less painful than Dev's stream. What did Dev do? Did he stream with a communist? That's what he does. Non-stop. Streaming with communists. By the way, who's Stardust? Like, Flamenco keeps trying to get me to stream with her. But the problem is, like, I don't know the benefit of streaming with ideologically opposed people. Because, like, you're not going to change anyone's mind. And if I start streaming with left-leaning people, I'm going to start shouting at them and they're going to start shouting at me. And I really hate the streams where there's, like, 5 or 6 people. Like, I like streaming 1v1, you know, like, that's fine. But when you have, like, 6 people and 5 of them disagree with you, and you can't get a word out, it's really annoying. The last thing that I saw her talk about was whether or not people should use the word groomer. And I'm like, okay, so what is the benefit of that stream? Like, let's assume that everyone on that panel agrees that using the word groomer as an insult is inappropriate. What then? Like, what is the next? What's going to happen then? It's so ridiculous, you know? The word groomer is an insult. It's not accurate. Like, since when do we use accurate insults? If you call someone a motherfucker, does that mean they actually fucked their mom? It's an insult that ends the conversation. That's what the word groomer is. You say it to someone, and that's it. It's like, okay, boomer. Pretty much the same thing. It's like when you don't want to get into discussions with someone, when you have reached the level of bigotry, and you're like, okay, I made my mind. I'm not willing to change it. And then you're like, okay, groomer. That's it. I mean, yeah, they're upset. I mean, given the fact that for the last, 4 years or more, the level of discourse was, oh, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist. Like, where were the people questioning, oh, should we call people misogynists for disagreeing with Hillary Clinton? Like, is that really accurate? Is that accurate? I mean, if we're going to label someone, you need to be accurate with your label. Oh, fuck off. So this is why I don't see the benefits in joining these conversations. It's not like I wouldn't have anything to add or I wouldn't know how to tackle the argument. But again, like, if everyone on the panel would say, yes, absolutely, groomer is not an okay thing to say. You shouldn't call people like that. Like, okay. What then? Like, are they going to change anything? Are people going to stop using that insult? No. So it's just a screaming match, isn't it? It's entertainment. Okay, well, if it's entertainment, I can do my own entertainment. It's funnier. Hold on. My phone decided that there's an update that I need. I don't need an update. Leave me alone. Fucking hell. Why are libertarians pretending groomer isn't descriptive? I mean, in some cases it is. I have seen it used in cases when it's not. It's just an insult, all right? Like, when you say son of a bitch, you don't actually mean that the person was born from a bitch, right? It's an insult. And yes, it does have sexual connotations. Are people gonna stop booming? No. I just got the VTuber joke. Oh, I see. Yeah, I was on time, Soldio. Didn't they embrace being called groomer? Well, it's not like they're a hive mind, right? It's not like everyone embrace. Like, I'm pretty sure there are certain people on Twitter that embrace the calling, and there's people that don't. It's just, it is what it is. I do notice that it's effective. If they're crying about it, then it's probably effective. So it at least tells me something. It at least tells me that they know bigotry wins hearts and minds. It's like, why did people call anyone else that disagreed with the left a fascist, right? Like, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're a fascist or whatever. They did it because they were bigots. Like, they weren't interested in changing their mind. They were interested in shutting down the conversation. So when someone does the same to them, they don't like it. Pet groomers are the only ones who can be proud groomers. That is correct. But even when I groom my cat, I don't feel like I'm proud doing it. It's just something that needs to be done. It's horrible, though, because, like, there's hair everywhere. It gets into your nose, and even if I'm not allergic, it still makes me sneeze. Janie Cat. Oh my god, how many women do I have? Like, what? I think I have more of a female audience than most other VTubers. If they didn't want to be called that, then they shouldn't have cited the psychology of fascism for a century. Yeah, pretty much. It is what it is. It's not, like, the thing with fascism isn't even the worst. Like, again, disagreeing with Hillary Clinton makes you misogynistic. Not voting for Obama makes you a racist. I mean, come on. Labels have been thrown willy-nilly during the last 4 years. Actually, more than 4 years. Probably the last 8 years. Now they're coming up and they're like, oh, well, we shouldn't use insults on this. No. The thumbnail is Fountain by Man Ray. It is one of my favorite works of art ever. A pure artistic shitpost. We're going to talk about it, Aiden. Let's just wait for more people to join. I need my $5 Zenith. Oh, here he is. V likes 20 women watching him. Who doesn't like that? Who doesn't like having 20 women watching him? Groom Your Cat into Power. Psychology of Fascism is a book. That was a real communism, but they can. Oh, yeah. All right. By the way, 4th of July came and gone, and a lot of leftists took the opportunity to dismiss America. They're saying, oh, America is such a horrible place. Why are we celebrating it? And I'm willing to bet that that's what they said on Twitter, but in reality, they went party. Because let's be honest, like, everyone wants a reason to go out and party. Like, it's an excuse, and people do it, even if they complain about it. But they have to seem like they have the right progressive stance, right? Because that's what it is about. It's not if you're right or wrong. It's more like, how would other people from your inner circle view you if you say that? Oh my God, please don't make me tell your name. 338327. You know, this is Captain V. Stardate 338-327-950288. Locked. I've been listening since 2015 and I started my MSc. What is MSc? I submitted my PhD. Ooh, congratulations. Thanks for the years of entertainment and background noise while working. Well, I hope I will be able to keep providing 338-327-950288. That is an interesting question. What currency is that? ILS currency. Get the fuck. It's Israeli shekel? I don't think it's the Israeli shekel. It's the Israeli new shekel. I have, chat, I have 60 Israeli new shekels. Will I get in trouble with YouTube for saying the word shekel? I know that Calliope Mori got in trouble for saying shekel. That's the Kushi levels. I know they are shekels. Now I have them. I bet you wish you had shekels, chat. But you don't. Do you know who does? I do. I'm your biggest Israeli fan. I don't think you're my biggest Israeli fan. There was another guy. So there were... No, actually, I have many people from Israel. I have Halsey Newquist and Skeptor. Yeah, that was his name, Skeptor. I don't know what happened to him, but does he still make YouTube videos? Let me check. Skeptor. I think he was my #1 biggest fan. Skeptor. Alright, he's got 457 subscribers. Oh, lazy Skeptor. He hasn't uploaded in 2 years. Okay, now that makes sense. You actually have real shekels? Like, what? Are you implying that my shekels are false? Oh, now I know I have so few people watching, because Short Fat Otaku is live streaming. What is Short Fat Otaku live streaming about? We're going to raid him afterwards. I am 60 shekels richer, yes. Okay. Goddamn kids outside every single time. Why can't... Like, I mean, there's a big neighborhood, there's other houses. Why do they have to play in front of my house? I'm becoming an old man, aren't I? My avatar couldn't have been better. There's a real irony in the fact that when some conservatives say we should reject modernism and return to the ideas of the past, they're often talking about work that predates the First World War. Oh, yeah. Great straw manning. Okay. First of all, right-wingers aren't afraid. Like, I hate this patronizing shit. It's like, you're afraid. No, disgusted is more the word. Like, I'm disgusted about it. It looks like a pissoir. I don't know what the fuck it is. I'm pretty sure it has symbols. It's ugly, okay? And I'm pretty sure it's meant to be ugly. This is like the modern, literally the modern equivalent of shit posting. Why is it in a museum? Like, what exactly? Alright, so, I don't think that people who want good art, they want art that predates the First World War. Anime, for example. Anime is beautiful. Cal art is ugly as fuck. And it explains with the fact that Cal art is not supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be cheap. Now, there is something that a lot of people point out. It's like, well, art is subjective, right? I don't think there's many people that like this, right? I don't think like you're going to find people that like this, but I'll give you an objective way of pointing out that no, art is not fully subjective. Like, there are a couple of things that art requires. For example, music, right? You need the instruments to synchronize. You need people that are singing, like if you have a choir, you need people to sing in unison. You need people to hit the proper notes. Now, if you don't follow these objective things, you're going to end up with something like feminist music, which is literally naked women screaming. So, this is not beautiful. And I'm willing to bet the artist wasn't aiming for beauty either. Now, you may say, well, okay, but, what, like, all art has to be beautiful? No, like, but at least, you shouldn't just have art that's meant to shock. And it's fine, you know, like, fine. You can have some art that's meant to shock. But why does it all have to be like that? Why does all modern art have to be this bad? I'm pretty sure you can find some exceptions where art is good. But, like, come on, a banana put to a wall. Like, if that's not money laundering, I don't know what is. But, with that aside, what I wanted to say is that, goddamn kids outside. Let me just close the window. Fuck it. I'm real. That's why best time to stream is at night. So, there might be a little bit of an echo because I opened the door. The thing is, everyone says that oh no, well this has the same value as any other art, and you can prove that it's not true. Like if art is so subjective, why does some art pieces have different prices than other? Like how would you be able to put a price on it if it's subjective? How would you be able to say that an artist has improved? Because there's a lot of artists that say, oh, I wish my drawing improves. It's like, okay, well, if art is subjective, then clearly an artist cannot improve. Because for some people, they would probably like the way the artist used to draw than how he draws now. Like anyone that follows, you know, a hentai artist. And you know how they used to draw 10 years ago and how they draw now, and it's like a clear progression. Well, if art is subjective, then you shouldn't be able to say that there is a progression. You should find people that enjoyed how the artist used to draw 10 years ago. I'm curious, what do you think of brown industrial designer Dieter Ramvi? Many would say he's I have no idea who he is. I'm sorry. This piece founded was part of Dadaism, which was taking the piss out of art critics. Yeah, but while I understand the message, it's still ugly. It's still disgusting. Now, another thing is like when you put art in a museum, right? Like, for example, this one. You put it in a museum. I'm on the opinion that only masterpieces should belong in a museum, and a masterpiece is something that it's very difficult to create and very few humans are capable of. So you have achieved peak perfection, which is why your art should belong in a museum. That's my low tier take, but apparently no. Apparently you can take a urinal, put it there in a glass, and voila, masterpiece. Right? So anyone can do it now. Like, it's not just, oh, Michelangelo, he was one person in a billion that was so talented, he remained in the annals of history. No, any twat can just... And I'll tell you something else, okay? I can prove to you why this is shit. If I have a time machine, and I take myself back 100 years, and I do the exact same art piece, I reproduce it to a T, no one will want it. People will laugh at me, right? In fact, no, not even that. I take the time machine a day before this was released. Literally, a day before. And I put it the exact same thing, like identical copy. And I'm the first that did it. No one will notice me. No one will care. No one will give a shit. Because it's all about the brand. It's all about the name. It's all about, oh, well, this is the artist. And he done this. The price argument makes no sense. Advocates of capitalism use subjective value as an argument because the market price is simply the average of everyone's subjective value. Yeah, but even then, right? Like, if something is so subjective that everyone, like, no two people can have the same opinion, you wouldn't be able to put a price on it. Like, for example, someone would be... You would take... Oh, hold on. Let me show you. My troll, okay? Like, my VTuber troll avatar. Some people that would probably pay, you know, the same amount as Mona Lisa for it because they should say, oh my god, this is so great, this is so amazing. And other people would be like, no, this is shit, and they would pay 5 cents. But that's not why people pay billions of dollars for art, right? Like, people actually pay because in the case of Mona Lisa, there is a story behind it. So they're paying more for the story and the historical significance, the age, the fact that it's old. But when you look at a banana put on a wall, right? So for example, you look at this banana on wall. All right, so this person ate the banana, which apparently was $120,000. And after eating the banana, someone told him, no, it's actually part of the art piece because it's supposed to be replaced by another banana, right? You cannot possibly convince me that this, like, some person actually appraised this at $120,000. This is money laundering. There is no other explanation. There is no possible way that any sane human being would look at this and say, yeah, you know what? My subjective opinion is that it's $120,000. Get the fuck out. You know, I will prove to you that it's not the case. Let's say in Romania, it's illegal to disinherit someone. So what that means is if I have a child, I cannot disinherit him. I have to give at least half of my inheritance to my child. That's the law. I know some Americans are bewildered, but that's the thing. Now, if I were to, before I die, let's say I'm with terminal cancer, and I want to disinherit my son, so I give $120,000, which is all I got. I give it to an artist for a banana on the wall. My son will sue after I'm dead, and they will say that the contract was made so that he will be disinherited, which is illegal, and the artist would have to pay back my son the money, right? Because the judge would appraise that, no, like, this art piece is not worth this amount. There are cases of this, by the way. Like, I'm not talking out of my ass. There have been cases, like legal standings in my country, where this exact thing happened. Like, someone commissioned the painting, they overpaid just so that they can disinherit their offspring. And by the way, you know, it does seem heartless, but there's a lot of reasons to disinherit your offspring. Like, maybe they're ungrateful, maybe they never came to visit. Who the fuck knows? There are cases where the son beat the father when he was old. Whatever. I disagree with the concept that you're not supposed to disinherit your family members. I mean, granted, most people probably wouldn't. So if the person does, then I assume they have some legitimate reason. The moment when modern artists seem more insane than Van Gogh when he chopped off his ear. If you want to disinherit, just make a will. No, you can't in Romania. If you make a will, you're only allowed to disinherit half of what you have. It is what it is. I don't know why the law exists, to be honest. I think it's absolutely stupid. Because most parents aren't going to disinherit their children unless the children fucked up. So you have to do something really, really bad to piss off your old man to get disinherited. Just spend your money. Well, that's another way to do it. But again, like, the children can actually sue if you do that. So art is a weird industry. See, I hate this. It's like it's an industry. I mean, I guess it is, but it should be human creativity. You know, when you say industry, I think like there's a factory manufacturing it. It's one of the few disciplines where people become absolutely incensed at the implication that they might not know everything about it, even when they have no real interest in it. I don't need to know much about it to point out that this is absolute ridiculous. Like, this is shit, okay? This is actually taking the piss, which is actually the point of this art piece. But, you know, there's art pieces similar to that. Like, for example, let me bring the one from my town. So this costed 20,000 euros, right? It was done by the city hall. I show it up until today because it's so goddamn ugly, right? It doesn't work with anything surrounding it. It looks like a IRL glitch, and there is no reason for it to cost this high, like $20,000. It's ridiculous. I get like it's kind of interesting because it's like, oh look, a real life bug, you know, a real life glitch. Like ha ha ha. Okay, fine, but like $20,000, this is money laundering. Can't convince me otherwise. Now, I don't need to know anything about art to look at this and say that it's shit. It's not worth $20,000. Like, no sane person would spend this amount. So you don't, like this idea, oh, but you need to know. No, you don't need to know, all right? Like, certain things can be beautiful, certain things can be ugly. Like, for example, you know, I'm not saying that this is the most beautiful painting in the world or something. But I can say, yeah, this is gorgeous. Like, this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Why? Because it takes talent to draw it. It's cute. It's adorable. You know, it pleases my retina. It has a message. It's like America, goddammit. Hamburgers. Well, it's a cheeseburger, actually. Okay? There's a star on her chest because she's patriotic. So, like, all of these things, they fit nicely together. It's sending a message. It's beautiful. And again, it takes skill and talent to draw. I can't do this shit. However, with that out of the way, I can easily do this. Like, this is something easy. I don't know if it's Meriwether. I just found it on YouTube. So, people will claim that a particular piece of art is pointless, pretentious, or stupid. No, I don't think it's pointless, pretentious, or stupid. I think that it's disgusting, easy to make, incredibly high-priced, and ugly. Why would I go into a museum to see ugly things? I mean, just so you guys know, there is shit in a museum. Like, look it up. There are museums that have feces in it. Why would you spend money to go and see that? The only reason you would is like, how would your circle of friends perceive you? And if you have many people like Ryan Cogan in your circle of friends, you have to pretend that you're, oh my God, I'm so impressed. I mean, look at this person's face, right? Like, look how interested he's looking at this urinal. Like, it's the first urinal he ever saw in his entire fucking life. And you have to appear that you're taking the art in. Oh, you're so impressed by what you see. When in reality, like, no normal person looks like this. Like, I already took a couple of seconds to look at the thumbnail, and I'm like, okay, this is disgusting, fuck off. You know, there's nothing much more to say. I love the fact that Aidan Paladin is a lot more intrigued by this than I am. Why go to a museum? Come on, like, going to a museum is fun. I actually enjoy it. It depends on the setting, but, like, there's a museum that I want to see, The Horrors of Communism. It's in Cluj, I believe. Might be wrong. I'll have to check it out. But it's a museum that I want to visit in Romania. The Horrors of Communism. Sounds great. Right? So you get to understand a little bit of your history. People will claim, with all the confidence of somebody walking up to an orthopedic surgeon and telling them that it's idiotic that there are so many different names for bones. Hand bones, leg bones, what's the difference? They cry. What? I don't understand the comparison. Bones are just sticks that keep our meat from sloshing around. Why do you eggheads always have to make everything so complicated? Like, if someone actually... Okay, so... Let's assume that I'm an orthopediatric surgeon, right? And someone comes to me and goes like, why do bones have different names? I mean, this is so easy to explain. It's like, well, because when we're talking about a patient and we say that there is a humeral fracture or a tibia fracture, then we actually know what we're talking about. So we need to have different names. But I'm willing to bet that if I ask people, why is this so expensive? They aren't able to articulate. If I ask, like, what fascinates you about this? They maybe with this particular art piece they would. But if I ask them, like, how how do you think this is, worthy of being placed in public? Like, why do you think this is so amazing that other people have to see it? They wouldn't be able to articulate it. Yeah, no, it's not a mass graves museum. Right-wingers are scared of competing aesthetics. Yes, pretty much. We're terrified. Competing aesthetics. And that's another thing. Like, what the fuck is aesthetical about this? Aesthetics, doesn't it mean that it's pleasing to the eye in some shape or form? Why do bones have names, man? No, that's well, I explained it, right? Like, it's easy to explain why do bones have names. Because when you talk with a patient, when you talk to another doctor about a patient, you don't need to have an x-ray in front of you so you can show, like, okay, so this bone right here, we're talking about this bone. We managed to talk 70 minutes, only to finish the second. There is a lot to talk about. Shut the fuck up. Nothing riles people up more than modern art. And nobody gets more riled up about modern art than conservative. No, this is not correct. You see, another straw man that you have to be a conservative in order to call that this is bad. I know leftists that don't like modern art. But I'll tell you why I think it's more conservatives than leftists that hate modern art. The way I would sum up conservatives is that their circle of their center of life is family and friends. So a conservative will mostly trust his family and friends over everyone else. Leftists, they care about institutions. So for a leftist, if an institution tells them that this is a masterpiece, they will believe it. Because leftists are more careful with how they're perceived by others than how they are being, when they say something, if it's true or not. Conservatives care more about how their family perceives them and how their close friends perceive them, but they don't give a fuck about how strangers perceive them. At least this is my personal observation between conservatives and leftists. So maybe a lot of leftists, like when you talk with them in private, they will say that, yeah, this is bad. But if they're at the dinner table with, their co-workers and their circle of friends, and someone shows this, they're just going to keep quiet. They're not going to voice their disapproval. Yeah, exactly. They confuse fear with disgust. Like, this is just disgusting. It's a urinal. What? How can a urinal not be disgusting? Like, whenever I see it, I imagine the smell that, when you go into a public bathroom, the exact same smell. Most recently, it was Daily Wire commentator Michael Knowles who committed the art with an equivalent of putting water on a chip pan fire by tweeting an example of Picasso earlier. More a realist work next to an example of his later cubism, and asking, why would a guy who could paint a picture on the left choose to paint the picture on the right? So let's see what he is talking about. I just want to say I'm not a big fan of Picasso, but like, at least this isn't eye gouging. Like, I can look at this and I can say, yeah, it does take skill to paint it, right? So there are modern arts, and there are various types of arts that, despite the fact that I don't like, I can appreciate that it takes skill to do. I mean, this obviously takes, in my opinion, it takes far more skill to do something like this than to do this. But there are, like, let me show you what we're talking about. So there's this one, right? Now this one, if I'm not mistaken, went for a couple of $100,000. Now you say, well, it was for charity. Right, so for charity, and that's why it went so high. But that doesn't make it good art. I'm like, meh. Meanwhile, this looks a lot cooler. right? Like, this looks a lot more difficult to do. I'm more interested in this. Like, basically, what I'm trying to say is that the more difficult it is to make, that the more renown it should have. Like, why are we removing the level of difficulty from the equation? Oh, yeah, corpo art as well. Like, corpo art is the worst. So, corpo art is actually the best example. Let me see if I can find an example of corporate art. And I actually know why corporate art is the way it is, by the way. Okay, I think I found it right. So, you go in various corporations, in various buildings, and you see this type of art. And you wonder, like, who on earth actually, just stops and admires the painting? Like, I never went to someone's house and saw them have any of this type of art style. So I actually looked into it because I was very curious. Like, why is this a thing? And the answer is that it's very easy to reproduce. Like, you don't need a talented artist to do it. And they actually do it on the computer. Like, they have a program where you can cheaply mass produce these things. They're very inoffensive because, as you can see, they don't have natural skin colors. So you can't really say, well, this is a black person or whatever. Right? Like, you're not going to have a social justice activist going like, oh, so you're saying that black people like music. Are you? Is this what you're saying? So you're saying that. So what you're saying, right? You're not going to get that. So it's just like the most inoffensive, casual, easy to produce, very cheap, and it covers the wall, right? So the wall isn't empty. So yeah, like, this is this type of art style. But like, no one is going to have this on their bedroom wall and be like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. The only way you're going to have a person doing this if they literally don't care about their house. And they're like needing something to cover that wall. Literally that. But other than that, I don't think like anyone will have this. We have this art style even in Dubai. Yeah, because it's everywhere. Like, you don't need to hire an artist. The thing is, like, when you hire an artist, if they get really good, like if you have an artist that genuinely manages to raise the level of, decorum in your company, then he's going to charge for a lot. But you can pay cheap for this. By the way, I'm willing to bet that the CEO doesn't have this shit in his office. Like, I would really be shocked if the CEO of any company has art style like this in his office. I'm willing to bet they actually have more sophisticated things. This is for the low-level employees to look at. In the hallway, maybe in the open office. But you're not going to see this in the high-level CEO's office. I'm even curious if the HR lady has shit like this in her office. I mean, look at this. Okay. Why? Why is it white? How much did it cost? This is the shit that I'm talking about. Dude, it's a white framing. Come the fuck on. And you're telling me that this is art? Really? This is supposed to be art. Now, this is art, okay? Like, this actually looks difficult to make. God, I'm getting so upset. Look, this... Nah, look at this. Look at this shit. It's just a red rectangle. Like, how can this be considered beautiful? I mean, yeah, I guess, it looks aesthetically pleasing and whatnot, but anyone can do it. I can do this, and I can't draw for shit. This is the objective way of pointing out if art is good or not. If I can do it, that is shit. Okay? Like, I have mathematically, objectively explained art to you. I'm a person that can't draw at all. Like, I literally cannot. I physically cannot draw. But if I can do it, then the art is shit. To be fair, I saw early 16th, 17th century flush toilets at the Science Museum. Well, that's different, man. That's history. I mean, look, you don't even need to buy this. You can just paint the wall. You can paint the wall red. And that's it. That's your art. You just don't get it. Clearly, you didn't go to liberal arts class. I wonder what they teach people at liberal arts class, right? Because art is subjective. Like, how can you teach something objective about art? We have this shit in hallways and canteens, but executive floor is full of classic oil paintings. You are 100% right. You want to know something else about me being 100% right? I never, ever set foot in an executive room. Ever. And yet, I can just use my imagination and realize that, yeah, there is no fucking way that a CEO would have something like this in his office. Because it looks ugly. Right-wingers like merit. I don't even know. Again, I don't think that this is a conservative liberal divide. I think like most people don't like modern art, but most people put up with modern art. Again, like corpo art. You know, like who's going to go to the boss and say, yeah, I think that this art style is shit. Can we not have something that's not eye gouging, please? No one is going to do that. So this one in particular upset people, not least because the use of the word degenerate. Recalled by the famous 1937 Degenerate Art exhibition organized by the Nazi Party. Oh, fuck off. I don't think that the word degenerate makes people think of the famous 1937 Degenerate Art exhibition organized by the Nazi Party. I'm actually curious. Okay, let me see what the Nazis consider to be degenerate, because I don't want to risk triggering YouTube's algorithm. This looks like a painting done by a 4-year-old. Like, I have seen my classmates draw like this. But anyway, right, I don't think, and by the way, like, the Nazis clearly didn't have material if that's what they consider degenerate art. I mean, if they, if they were to see some of the things that are being drawn now, you might have had different things. But, first of all, like, this is the genetic fallacy, right? So, well, bad people thought this, so it clearly means that this is wrong. I mean, well, okay, the Nazis were vegan. Are you going to say that any vegan person is a conservative? Well, what do conservatives have to do with the Nazis? Like, another question. Is it like, these are the same people that get upset if you compare left-wingers with communists? If you say Obama was a commie, they get upset. But the word degenerate doesn't belong to the Nazis. I mean, it existed before that, and it describes something, okay? Now, yes, there is art that I would consider degenerate. Like, for example, a woman menstruating on a flag. That actually happened. That is called an art piece. Or women covered in red paint to symbolize blood, screaming. That's another art piece. I would also consider that degenerate. But I guess, you know, well, clearly a Nazi. About a week earlier, Prince William found himself at the center of a debate after claiming that although he loved the Italian Renaissance, modern art had put him off his art history degree, often falling asleep during lectures that covered the topic. You can probably go on Reddit right now and find 5 or 6 threads full of armchair experts congratulating each other for figuring out that the art industry is a money laundering conspiracy for rich people. Okay, well, if you understand that money laundering, that art is a money laundering conspiracy for rich people, why are you writing this article? Because it's true. I actually sympathize with the right's position on this. It's not the right's fucking position, motherfucker! Not every normal person has to be a right wing. There is an overlap between normal people and right wingers, but like in this situation, it's not. My PhD looks at parallels between literature as examples that you'd call modern art. I spent several years teaching and lecturing on the subject. But when I was younger, I was card-carrying member of the My 4-Year-Old Could Paint That society. If your 4-year-old can paint that, I'm not saying it's not art, But what I am saying that maybe he shouldn't belong in a museum. Okay? Unless that 40-year-old is a fucking prodigy, maybe. But other than that, no. Like, well, why does he... Like, here's something that I don't understand, okay? If your 40-year-old can paint that, and it's in a museum, why is it like other 40-year-olds aren't getting in that museum as well? Why is it only that particular person? I only forced myself to engage with art in college because I started dating an art student who was a lot smarter than me. Well, wow. If I say something, I would violate terms of service. Let me put it like that. My mind is quite quick on the draw, and I already found like 5 or 10 things that I could say that would get Susan very upset. Imagine that, chat. Imagine that. An art student smarter than a journalist. Now I know, I was always wondering, like, who's smarter, an art student or a journalist? Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Now I know. Fucking hell. So this guy was dating a woman who was an art student and was smarter than him. Naruhodo. During that time, while I was doing my best to educate myself... Did he go on Twitter and he was told to educate himself? I previously had no real interest in. I learned 3 things that made me change my approach to modern art. The first is that modern art is kind of a useless term, and that people use it to refer to works that span more than 100 years. Yeah, but this is not how we use definitions, okay? Like, definitions don't have to be... So there is the academic term, modern art, that I'm pretty sure is a lot more concise and more nuanced. And then you have the colloquial term, modern art. Like, when I say modern art, right, I'm pretty sure like corpo art might not feature in modern art, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, at the end of the day, the purpose of human language isn't to convey mathematical definitions, is to make sure that the listener understands what's in my head. So as long as what's in my head gets conveyed to the listener, then it's fine. Look, for example, when we talk at medicine about something, right? Like when you guys say hand, I know what you're thinking, right? But if I talk to like if you say I hurt my hand, okay, a better example, sorry. Like, if you tell me that you have cancer, okay, I might ask, like, which type of cancer? And it might be lung cancer. I might go, well, I'm really sorry, that sucks. But just because you said that, you actually described several stages. You described, like, several possibilities and stages of cancer. Like, what type of cells? Like, are we talking about small cells or big cells? Like, what TNM? Like... what is the, like, T2, N1, M0, you know, like that. Then you narrow it down and you're more precise and you're more accurate, right? That's what doctors do, because like doctors require to understand the type of cancer the patient has so that they can communicate it to their colleagues so that they can figure out a treatment. But colloquially, for people outside the medical field, it's still acceptable, even if you're wrong. Like, maybe you have a metastasis to your lung, and you say you have lung cancer, because that's what you figured it out. Now, technically, you're wrong about it, but, like, the main purpose when you convey it to a loved one isn't to get a diagnosis. Your main purpose is to let the other person know that you're suffering and you have an illness. Now, what is my point with this? It's the same with art, right? When I say modern art, and I speak about it colloquially, I'm trying to get into the mind of another person the art style that I'm referring to. And they usually get it, right? But if I was in an academic sense, and we would be actually studying the art, then yeah, I would have to actually be precise. TNM, yeah, like the way you classify cancer is like, well, fucking hell, why do I even got into this debate? But, I don't know if the English use this, but I think they should, because it should be standard, right? So TNM stands for T is tumor, N is nodules, M is metastasis. So based on the types of cancer, the type of tumor, like 1 is its initial stage, 2 is when you get the tumor starts to invade surrounding organs, and 3 it's when it's really big. Like that, there's for various cancers it describes. Like for example, if the tumor is bigger than 5 centimeters, it's T3. Nodules is either 1 or 0. Like if your lymph nodes are becoming bigger, then it's 1. If not, it's 0. And metastasis is still 1 or 0, depending on if the cancer has metastasized or not. So basically, when you say you got a patient and you say he's got lung cancer, T2, N0, M0, then you say this, and the other doctor immediately knows what you're talking about without having to describe. And it's also used for telling the surgeon if it's operable or not. But anyway, right. Life does cause cancer. You know what else causes cancer? Modern art. What causes cancer anyway? It's when the cells start dividing uncontrollably. So there's like 7, I believe, principles. But yeah, it's irreparable damage to the DNA, and the cells become immortal. I mean, immortal in the sense that as long as they are provided nutrition, they will never die. Right? It's genuine immortality. So if you have, in fact, like there is, I believe a woman from the 900s, like she was the first patient that offered her cells, and they're alive even today. So the thing with cancer is that the cell becomes immortal, and it starts dividing itself over and over and over. And it doesn't respond to any stimuli from the body, like it doesn't do its job anymore. And by constantly multiplying, it also creates its own vascular system, and it starts draining energy from your body. This is why cancer patients lose weight, because the tumor like literally just takes the resources from your body and in order to feed itself. And the problem with it is that by constantly growing and spreading throughout the body, it eventually presses on vital organs. So if you have, like, eventually it sends metastasis to the brain, and then it compresses the brain, so you have a stroke. Or it can send metastasis to the heart, right? Or it can press on the trachea, so on and so forth. But yeah. HeLa cells, yes. So HeLa was the patient. Why do people know this in my chat? My fucking god. I noticed that any subject that I talk about, someone in the chat will know about it. I think her name was Sela, yes. Yeah, the cells never get old and they don't die. But anyway, right, let's go back to this. She didn't offer her cells, they were stolen, and I don't think the family has yet been compensated. Alright, nice trivia. I actually didn't know that. The cells were stolen. Like, I don't think... I mean, okay, I guess, but... I wonder why they didn't just ask her. Because, like, if you wanted cells for studying, like, surely some patient would have offered. Why do people age? It's because as the cells keep dividing, eventually, like when a cell divides, it doesn't do a perfect copy. And as time goes on, the DNA replicator that gives the command for the cell to divide starts breaking down, and you get up with having older cells. Henrietta Lacks was an issue of informed consent. I don't think they practiced informed consent at that time. It's like wondering why why cavemen didn't have electricity. Aging is because the cells can only divide a certain number of times. Yes. Actually, like, can you imagine if people didn't die? I mean, that would have been horrible. Like, first of all, if we wouldn't die, like, there would be so many humans on the planet that it would be unlivable. I mean, dying from old age, right? Like, you'd still have to eat. So you'd end up without resources because there would be so many humans on Earth. Secondly, would you really want to live forever? I mean, think about this. You live for 1,000,000 years, and then, you get another million, and another million, and another million. Like, eventually the sun would die off. Like, think about it. If you were immortal, you could actually have the sun dying off, and you'd still be alive. Like, that would be fucked up, wouldn't it? There would be, like, an Earth without an atmosphere, like in 1,000,000,000 years or some shit, and you'd still be alive. You do want to live forever? I don't know. I think living forever is kind of scary. I mean, you would get to the point where you experienced everything and life would be so fucking boring. And I'm not even talking about the fact that people around you would just die, like, of old age, and you'd still be alive. Aging is because of telometer caps of DNA. Oh my fucking god. It's been like 6 or 7 years since I finished med school, and I really hated genetics. Anyway, time to move on. You can still be killed in a word. That is, like, it depends what type of immortality you're talking about, right? So, like, not dying from old age is one thing. And then you also have, like, complete immortality. Like, you literally can't be killed. You're like Majin Buu. Or like Cell from Dragon Ball. I mean, it depends what type of immortality you have. Or maybe, you die and then you respawn. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you definitely die in a war. I don't think you would avoid dying forever. And the problem would be explaining to other people why you're still alive. Like, that would be a difficult thing, right? But I suppose, like, if you were alive forever, eventually you would become incredibly wealthy. Like, statistically speaking, you would probably at one point have to be really, really rich. And maybe then you can just afford not fighting in wars. So anyway, rather it's easier to think of a piece of so-called modern art the same way you would a petri dish under a microscope. And that brings me to my third place, perhaps most crucial. Nobody is asking you to learn or talk about art. It's fine to not understand something. No, I pretty much understand this. I do understand this. It's lazy, uncreative, and the only reason it's popular is because the quote-unquote experts say it's popular. First, though, fictional writing is about why immortality sucks. Epic of Gilgamesh. Oh my god, Sargon keeps telling me to read it. I always say no. I think that's part of the reason that modern art is such a slam dunk, talking point for conservatives. Understanding modern art requires you to go against your instincts and tell yourself that even though it's supposed to be a sculpture that looks like a urinal, there's actually more to it. Oh my god. I do understand that there's more to it, but I understand that if I would have made the exact same shit, the exact same thing, and I would have traveled one day before it was released, no one would care. Right? But then you look at certain masterpieces, like Greek statues, and I knew that if I was in ancient Greece and I could sculpt the same way that Da Vinci or Leonardo or Michelangelo sculpted, and I would have made an exact replica like that, it would have value because it's incredibly difficult to make. And that's the whole point. Conservatism is mired in the need for supposed common sense solutions to complex problems. It's why the core message of Brexit. Oh, yeah. This is written by a leftist, and you know that because every single time leftists write something, even if it's about art, they have to include Brexit and they have to include Trump. Like, chat, what do you think? Is Trump being mentioned here? Is Trump being mentioned? I haven't read it. Like, I read it with you the first time, but I am willing to bet If I press Control F, I'm going to find the Trump in this. I'm going, ha ha ha, oh my fucking god. You know, and this guy says, oh, well, I dated this art student and she was smarter than me. My god. Well, you're not very difficult to read now, are you? Oh, look, anti-trans movement. It's difficult to counter. Rent fucking free, chat. Rent fucking free. Every single time, I swear to God, they can't help themselves. Max William, a V who controls the troll puppet. A program? Yes, it's called VTube Studio. Anyway, I'm gonna watch Overlord now. I'm at season 1. Overlord, with the skeleton. I don't get it. Why is the succubus trying to rape the skeleton? Like, he has no desire. And even if he would, he has no thing to... I'll find out. I'm about to finish season 1. He's going to fight this chica called Clementine. Will Clementine win? Probably not, because it's got the season 2. But anyway. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you are entertained by it. And see you tomorrow.